Never forget, that's the refrain we often repeat with regard to the events of September 11. But until there's full disclosure and total transparency about what occurred, the words are an empty promise that are made to the victims and their families.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Stand Your Ground Studio. This is Scott, and on your screen is the next step towards the inevitable reveal of that 9/11 isn't exactly the story that we were told, and in the middle of all that is the 28 missing pages. And like I've said on this channel time and again before, they're getting ready to reveal big-time corruption in our midst, and the 28 missing pages are a huge part of that. And just yesterday, guess what came up? Saudi Arabia warns of economic fallout if Congress passes 9/11 bill. And I don't have a whole lot of time today, and this is probably going to develop over the next few days anyway. So I'm going to read just a few quotes so you know exactly what I'm talking about, and I'll post links to these and you can read them yourself. So here it is. Saudi Arabia has told the Obama administration and members of Congress that it will sell off hundreds of billions of dollars worth of American assets held by the kingdom if Congress passes a bill that would allow the Saudi government to be held responsible in American courts for any role in September 11, 2001. The Saudi foreign minister delivered the kingdom's message personally last month during a trip to Washington, telling lawmakers that Saudi Arabia would be forced to sell up to $750 billion in treasury securities and other assets before they could be frozen in American courts. Several outside economists are skeptical that Saudis will follow through, saying that such a sell-off would be difficult to execute and would end up crippling the kingdom's economy, but the threat is another sign of the escalating tensions between Saudi Arabia and the United States. So like I've mentioned over and over again, and specifically in my earlier video, if you're new to my channel and I have a lot of new subscribers, please go to this video here, The Road to World War III Goes Through 9/11. I posted it back on February 19th, and in it I make the claim that they're going to be revealing a lot of corruption in our midst, but specifically that 9/11 is not what we were told. And there's a lot of corruption tied to it, largely with the Bush administration, but it's a larger story than that with the American government and this whole relationship we've had with the Saudis since the 40s. Please go back and watch that video. If you've already seen it, please share this video with as many people as you can, because I'm telling you this is predictable. In it, I talk about how they're going to reveal this at a time when society starts to wobble, and there's this perfect storm. There's this weave of tensions regarding World War III, the economy, terrorism, and it's all going to tie into 9/11. I mean, there's more going on, but this is a huge part of it. So just keep that in mind as I read these next few quotes. Saudi officials have long denied that the kingdom had any role in the September 11th plot, and the 9/11 Commission found, quote, no evidence that the Saudi government as an institution or senior Saudi officials officially funded the organization, but critics have noted that the Commission's narrow wording left open the possibility that less senior officials or parts of the Saudi government could have played a role. What they need to do in this bill is that they need to weaken immunity laws, which have gotten in the way of a proper investigation. And the Obama administration is really digging in and getting in the way, because then that can have a ripple effect. So their defense is that weakening the sovereign immunity provisions would put the American government, along with its citizens and corporations, in legal risk abroad because other nations might retaliate with their own legislation. John Kerry told a Senate panel in February that the bill in its current form would, quote, expose the United States of America to lawsuits and take away our sovereign immunity and create a terrible precedent. So this economist says that this is largely an empty threat by the Saudis because selling hundreds of billions of dollars in American assets would not only be technically difficult to pull off, but would also be very likely to cause global market turmoil for which the Saudis would be blamed. Moreover, he said, it could destabilize the American dollar, the currency to which the Saudi rial is pegged. Okay. All right, here we go. And this is where there's going to be an inevitable battle cry where everybody gets behind it, and it's time the truth came out, and it's right here. The bill is an anomaly in a Congress fractured by bitter partisanship, especially during an election year. It is sponsored by Senator John Cornyn, Republican of Texas, Senator Chuck Schumer, Democrat of New York, and has the support of an unlikely coalition of liberal and conservative senators, including Al Franken and Ted Cruz. It passed through the Judiciary Committee in January without dissent. As our nation confronts new and expanding terror networks that are targeting our citizens, stopping the funding source for terrorists becomes even more important. So it's tied into everything I've said about the hunt for terrorism, which I've expanded on in other videos. Okay, so real quick, here's the presentation from that video. If you haven't seen it already, in the beginning I lay it all out nice and clean, and then for about a third of the video, I lay out a lot of groundwork as to why I found all this or how I found all of it. And it's very important I expand on it over a bunch of videos, including an agenda that's behind the scenes that's being revealed on purpose. And then we're diving back into the 20th century, used as a framing device. And by the way, I was totally right about this show. But about a third of the way into the video, I really start digging into the meat of it. And all I really did was just lay out miles of mainstream coverage all about 9/11. And if you read through it, they're telling you one cohesive story that's not over yet. And what they did was they left a lot of stuff open-ended and a lot of visible corruption, so that would be kind of obvious, and we want to call BS on it. And you don't have to be a conspiracy theorist to be puzzled or want an explanation. So, they're going to reveal a pocket of lies that was built into 9/11, whatever your belief about the official story is. The big stumbling block about it is, see, a lot of families of 9/11 victims want to blame the Saudi royal family for having an involvement or somewhere in there. And the Saudis want to defend themselves, but the Justice Department always gets in the way and says outright, no, there's way too many consequences. We can't allow this to happen. Everyone just go home. And meanwhile, tensions build over the years, and they keep bringing it up so that we don't forget about it. And, I just lay out one news story after another. Then in October, Trump said his thing because we don't want to forget about it. And then one day later, they come out with all this stuff with Bush and Blair, and then we have all these articles. But then after all that came out, 1 week later, Saudi prince held on suspicion of drug smuggling in Lebanon, terror groups profiting, UN officials say. So again, it's all about that. They're tied to funding of terrorism, which is tied to the wars in the Middle East, which are never ending in this ongoing cycle. So again, that right there, they're bringing back up right here. As our nation confronts new and expanding terror networks that are targeting our citizens, stopping the funding source for terrorists becomes even more important. Jump back over to the presentation. They've been telling us for years that this was coming, is all I'm saying. So please just jump back to that video. The road to World War III goes through 9/11. If you haven't seen it, you're new to my channel, please watch it. Know that I called this out and that this stuff is generally predictable, and share it with everyone you know. I see a lot of truthers who are getting ready to get caught up in this wave of truth that's coming out, not realizing that it's being done on purpose. I have to head out. We'll let this build over a couple days, and then this will probably be what my next video will be about. Until then, let me know what you think. Like, subscribe, share, and I'll talk to you next time. Thank you.